I remember being like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And all my friends were just like in a line down here. And they were like, you know what, Bridget? You got it. You can get to the top. So I ended up making it to the top. And then I did the fifth one and I did all five. And I was one of like two in our group to do all five. And it was so proud of myself. Like I'm just getting that feeling again. Like I'm getting goosebumps because I remember like feeling so proud of myself that I pushed myself to do something.
Welcome to the Power of PennWest. I'm your host, Dr. John Anderson, president of PennWest University. Whether you're a current student, a proud alum, or just curious about the PennWest community, welcome. Please stay tuned as we explore the stories, achievements, and experiences of the people who bring life to our campuses in California, Clarion, Edinboro, and online. Welcome to the Power of PennWest podcast. Welcome to the Power of PennWest podcast today. We are diving into the dynamic experiences that make our university life unforgettable. We're exploring the adventurous world of campus recreation. Imagine soaring through the sky with skydiving, gliding gracefully on ice skates, or trekking through the scenic hiking trails. These activities, they're not just fun. They're opportunities for students to embrace new challenges and to push themselves beyond boundaries they may have thought were not possible. We'll be joined by some incredible guests from our PennWest campuses who have taken the plunge, literally and figuratively, into these exhilarating activities. We'll chat with Edinboro students Bridget, Bartlett, and Sonia, Yost, California students Gage, Sorchilla, and Lasinsky, and campus recreations staff members Ryan Walton and Hayden Thorpe, who will share their personal stories of how campus recreation transforms the college experience. At PennWest, we believe that stepping out of your comfort zone is a crucial part of personal growth. Our guests will talk about how these experiences have not only boosted their college life, but also created lasting memories and many friendships. So to our guests, welcome. It's so great to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. Let's begin with some of these student stories. Why don't we have each of the students tell us a little bit about yourself, your major, and what got you interested in campus recreation in this part of campus life? Gage, why don't you begin for us?
My name is Gage Sorchilla, of course. I am a fisheries and wildlife biology major. I would say my campus recreation story, I guess, started at the rock wall, actually. I was very interested in it when I toured the school. I saw that, and I always had thought about doing rock climbing before, but I never really got into it. I met Aaron one of the first weeks of school, actually, and I got him to come along with me to check out the rock wall. Since then, I've been there several times a week, every single week since I've been at Cal. I now work there, actually. I've made a ton of good friends there, and yeah, it's been a big part of my life since then.
Thanks, Gage. Aaron, what was that rock wall experience like for you?
Similar story to Gage. First, I want to start off. My name is Aaron Lasinsky. My major is also fisheries and wildlife biology. And like I said, kind of a similar story. I toured the campus and the rock wall. It kind of just something about it drew me to it. So one of the first weeks, Gage, I tagged along with him and we started climbing. We'd go in multiple times a week. Eventually, we were climbing so much that the head of the gym pretty much had to give us a job. We were there so much. So we were just climbing so much and we became really good friends over that. And it's just become a huge part of my life ever since then.
That's great. Thank you, Aaron. Bridget, tell us about yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Bridget Bartlett. I'm a junior double major in early ed and deaf education. My campus rec story is I saw core coming into college. It was one of the things that actually drew me to Edinboro as well as my program major. And I kind of knew that I always wanted to check it out. And so freshman year, I guess I would say, I started seeing that they were having trips and I love to ski. So those were one of the first ones I saw. They had skydiving. So my small little scared freshman self was like, let's go try skydiving. It's not that much money. So that was probably one of the first experiences at Core. And I was always trying to work for Core because I knew it was just a great organization. And so finally my junior year, I got to work for Core. And through that, I actually learned how to rock climb. I had never really rock climbed before, but now I'm setting routes and I'm belaying people. And it's just it's really cool because the community of the core members has really built me up as well. Because I didn't know I'd be able to belay someone up a climbing wall, but through trying and learning and the community of core, I've been able to learn a lot about myself and the outdoors and stuff. So it's really cool.
That's great, Bridget. Thank you. It's surprising how much you can learn when you push yourself beyond that first little scared freshman. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome.
Sonia, tell us about your experience and a little about you.
So my name is Sonia Yost. I am a senior studying English literature. Unlike the rest of the students, I don't work for Campus Rec. I'm just an eager participant in everything that they do. I've been on a couple of trips, including like skydiving, whitewater rafting, skiing. I've participated in the ropes course a couple different times through different organizations. I first heard about CORE coming onto campus my freshman year with their skydiving trip. And I had always really wanted to try skydiving, but when I tried to sign up, it was filled. And so I tried again in the spring and it was filled. And I didn't end up going skydiving until this past fall, actually, but it was definitely an experience for sure. And I never thought that I'd do something like that. I never thought that I would do a lot of the things that I've done through CORE and through Campus Rec. So it's just really shown me like how much I can do when I try.
That sounds like it's built a great foundation. And I look forward to hearing as we talk through this podcast about the adventures you plan for the rest of your life. This will be a fun topic to go into. Let's hear from our two staff members who are with us today. Hayden and Ryan, why don't each of you tell us a little about your career trajectory and the interest that led you to making Campus Rec something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Hayden, we start.
Yeah, I'd love to. My name is Hayden Thorpe. I'm the Assistant Director of Campus Recreation on the Clarion campus. I got my start actually as a Edinboro University student. My orientation weekend, I was on campus, just kind of going through the day. And the previous director of Campus Rec was there advertising jobs. And I knew that I was a sport management student. And that was about all I knew at that point. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that degree. I just knew that I loved sports and wanted to stay involved somehow. So luckily I got hired on as an intramural official, and I've been in campus recreation in some capacity ever since. I fell in love with it very, very, very quickly. I loved the intramural side of the house, but also got involved in some of the core trips that some of the students have mentioned. I did go skydiving, which for me was completely out of my comfort zone, but it was an incredible experience, one that I never thought that I would do. But also then working in the fitness center and things of that nature. My previous boss in that role was a huge mentor to me. Then when I got out of school, Clarion had an opening and I landed here, and I've been working in campus recreation in some fashion ever since. So my roles have changed a little bit, but my passion for campus rec has never changed. So I feel very lucky to be where I'm at.
What a great story. And I bet I'm kind of surprised that experience as a referee didn't chase you out from the beginning. Usually that's not a smooth experience for people.
Yeah, but you either love it or you hate it. And I'm lucky that I'm one of the ones who loved it. So yeah, it didn't scare me away.
That's great. Thanks, Hayden. Ryan, tell us your story.
Sure. Yeah, it's a little bit different. I kind of laugh that I've made it my passion to work in higher education, but I was always someone who said, I'm never going to college at all. And I was a rock climber and I just wanted to dirtbag and go climb. But I wound up talking to a mentor of mine who said, yeah, you should check out this program in like resource management. It's pretty cool. And so I wound up going to college and sort of getting my start at that school where I was able to lead rock climbing trips. During this time, I was also working down in West Virginia at a place called Nelson Rocks, taking people on a Via Ferrata, which is the Iron Way. It's sort of rock climbing, except hiking plus. It's hiking with rebar staples in rock and being able to cross over this 200-foot tall suspension bridge between two shark fins. And that guided my early career. But because I was having so much fun working with people in the outdoors and getting to climb every day, I started realizing how much education was in the outdoors, how much education was possible while you were guiding. And it pursued me to study education as a master's and try to find ways to merge education with my love for recreation and all the benefits that come out of the mental well-being, the physical well-being that comes out of being able to recreate, whether it's indoors or out. And it really guided my passion to be working in higher education now.
That's great, Ryan. Let's go on a little tangent down these dirtbag days when you were climbing. Did you climb out west in the Rockies at all?
Yeah, I spent some time in Colorado. Really, when COVID came around, I sort of moved out there for a summer, and then I came back to PA for 2 months, and then I said nope. I went back to Colorado for 5 years, and I just found myself back here in October, and I'm loving it. This is somewhere where I'm familiar with and spent a lot of core memories, built a lot of relationships. So
There are fantastic climbs and a lot of space on both sides of the continent. Right before I moved out here to start at this job, I took some family members. We climbed Half Dome in Yosemite, and that is a fantastic hike. If none of you have been on there, it's kind of a life-changing experience. So tell us a little bit about your rock climbing journey. I want to hear from some of the students. Was the rock wall the first time you had rock climbed, any of you? Or had you been out rock climbing in the mountains? Let's go with Gage first, then go to Aaron.
For me, the rock wall was definitely my first experience. That was what introduced me to the sport. Like Aaron said before, we got hooked on it pretty quick. So ever since then, me and Aaron have been climbing outside a lot, and we still spend most of our climbing time at the rock wall, though.
That's great, Aaron.
So it was also my first time climbing at the rock wall. That was like the first time I had ever touched rock. Literally ever since that day, I've just kind of been obsessed with it. If I'm not climbing, I'm doing something outdoors, whether it's hiking or skiing. We go rock climbing every weekend. We go to Cooper's Rock. It's like an hour away. It's something that I enjoy so much because it's a great way to spend time outdoors. I love to like bring food and stuff, eating outdoors, and then climbing is just so, there's something about it. I just really enjoy it. And it's enabled me to connect to nature in a different way that I've never connected to it before, which is just, it's so cool. And it's hard to explain to some people that have not rock climbed because it's just so, I don't know, it's such a unique feeling. I really enjoy it. And I don't know, I'm kind of obsessed with it. I can't talk about it enough. I love it. I love route setting. I love belaying people. Yeah, it's just become a big part of my life and I really enjoy it.
That's great. Bridget, what about you?
So rock wall at school was definitely the first time I climbed, and I mentioned earlier that I went on the spring break trip last year, and so it was really cool as we got to climb outside, and that was the first time I'd ever climbed outside before, and I was really, really nervous because I was like, that wall is really tall, and I'm really scared of falling. There was 5 different routes that we could take, and I remember getting to the 4th one, and I was like, man, I'm tired. This is not like the indoor rock crawl. Like, this is crazy. And I remember being like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And all my friends were just like in a line down here. And they were like, you know what, Bridget? You got it. You get to the top. So I ended up making it to the top. And then I did the 5th one and I did all 5. And I was one of like 2 in our group to do all 5. And it was so proud of myself. Like, I'm just getting that feeling again. Like, I'm getting goosebumps because I remember like feeling so proud of myself that I pushed myself to do something. A, I'd never climbed outside before. B, I made it to the top of all of them. And like, it was just really, really cool. I enjoy climbing inside, obviously, but I definitely am going to make it a goal to keep trying to climb outside because it's a different but an amazing experience.
Thanks, Bridget. Sonia, what about your experience climbing?
So similarly to Bridget, I had rock climbed a little bit at the school before, but that spring break trip in Kentucky was the best rock climbing experience ever. I had never done anything like that before, and it was such an amazing experience. I didn't think I could do it, but I did it, and I did it well, I would say. And like Bridget said, like everyone was cheering each other on. Just the vibes were really good that day. It was a beautiful day outside. The guides that we were with, they explained everything super well. It was super beginner friendly. That day was the day that I was looking forward to the least out of that whole trip, but looking back on it now, it was one of my favorite days of that entire week, just because it was something that I was absolutely dreading. I didn't think I would be able to do it, but I came out of it feeling just on top of the world with everything.
As a University of Kentucky graduate, I've got to say it does my heart proud that you had that experience in the state of Kentucky. It's a fantastic place. Where were you climbing in Kentucky? Red River Gorge, huh? That's great. We'll be right back after this message.
At PennWest University, we're making college make sense again for people who maybe thought college wasn't the answer. We're making college practical with programs tied to in-demand jobs that prepare you for success right away. We're making college accessible by breaking down barriers and offering more choices. We're making college approachable with faculty who understand where you're coming from and help you get where you're going. At PennWest, we're making college valuable again for people just like you. Learn more at pennwest.edu.
A lot of people don't think when you go to a university to study that you get all these outdoor opportunities. and you get the chance to participate in all kinds of activities. So we hit rock climbing a little bit. Let's talk now about skydiving. What is that experience like? How does the process happen when you sign up for a skydiving trip, get in the van, you're halfway there and you're wondering, oh no, should I have done this or not? Sonia, what was your experience like?
I had always wanted to go skydiving. It was just like a bucket list item for me. And I'd wanted to do it since my freshman year, but just the signups always filled up or I was not available on the day that they had it set. But I was finally able to go last fall semester. And it was a fun time. It was great. I did get sick up in the air, unfortunately, but it was still like a really fun time. But I just remember like being in the plane and like watching us just go up and up and up and just wondering like, how far are we going? Like, when are we going to stop? And then coming out of the plane and the guide was like yelling at me to like look up out at the skyline, but I was so focused on like, you can't get sick right now. You can't get sick. And it didn't work in the end, but I did look up and I remember being like, wow, the world is just so big. Like, it was just such an incredible experience to just be falling through the sky. I don't know. It was indescribable.
That's great. Bridget, tell us about your experience.
So I've been skydiving twice. I wanted to do it last fall semester, but it didn't end up working out. So I gave my spot to someone else. But the first time I went, I remember I was actually less nervous than I expected, which was really weird because I don't like roller coasters. So I was like, you know what, let's try it though, because like this is really cool opportunity. So I remember being in the airplane, and that's when I was like, okay, you can't start hyperventilating right now. You're like very high up in the air. So we got to the edge of the plane, and that's when I think I started to internally freak out. I just remember the first time just not being able to breathe until they hit the parachute. Like I was just like taking in super deep breaths after. And so afterwards, I was like, you know what, that really wasn't as bad as I expected. So I was like, I want to go back and do it again and see if this next time is better. And so I remember the second time, I like made sure I calmed myself down. I was like, you're not gonna die. You have someone like a professional with you. And I remember being able to breathe and just like Sonia said, just like look out and just see everything. And I like the second time was so much better because I just wasn't freaking out. And I was proud that I did it again because it's not like I hated it the first time. I don't like roller coasters. So I was just like, it wasn't a comfortable experience, but it gave me the ability to be able to see that I have anxiety over something and do it anyway and be okay. So that was really cool.
Isn't that a great example for a lot of elements in life? When you think I may not be able to do it, you do it and you're like, hey, I got this. Let's do it again. That's great. Aaron or Gage, have either of you been on the skydiving trips?
I would love to do something like that. That sounds so cool.
We got your next adventure planned. Gage, have you done it yet?
No, I have not. I've been paragliding, but I have not gone skydiving. That's something I definitely want to do.
Ryan, tell us what it's like from the guide side. When you're taking somebody rock climbing or on one of these adventures for the first time, and you can tell when they show up, they signed up for it, but they're not sure if they're really going to go through with it. What is that like from your perspective?
I think this really is a great talking point that what somebody's comfort zone is different for absolutely everyone. And one of the really cool things about campus recreation is that we want to meet people where they're at. And it's definitely a valuable experience to kind of push your comfort zone and see what those limits are, because you wind up with some really cool accomplishments. You wind up with this sense of pride and, building community and trust in your community, the people that helped you work through that challenging situation. But ultimately, we can offer experiences that might be really challenging to one person and less challenging to someone else. We want to try and meet all those people at different spots. So from the guide's perspective, it's really, well, what are you looking to get out of this? And how can we get you into that stretch zone where you're really learning and you're growing and understanding yourself better, understanding your community better?
That's great. Thanks, Ryan. So Hayden, we've talked a lot about kind of the adventure side, skydiving, rock climbing. You don't get more epic than those things, right? But why don't you give us an overview of the whole picture of student activity that are available?
Outdoor adventure is definitely the kind of big piece where you get that exhilaration. But campus recreation, as you mentioned, does so much more than that. Just having the rec centers themselves where students can go and get that physical release, that stress release when, you're busy, and college is a busy time. You have a lot of stress when it comes to classes. A lot of students are away from home for the first time. You have to have a place where you can kind of go and have that safe haven. So that's a lot of what we try to provide here in the campus recreation department, whether that is you're just coming in to lift weights or run on the treadmill or on the track, or whether that's getting involved in either an intramural or a club sport. Each campus has both of those to offer. So your intramurals are more of the in-house. You're not leaving campus. You may get some people that you've just met on your floor and get together and create a volleyball team where you're just playing against other students a couple nights a week, relatively stress-free. You're not necessarily having practices, but it's a great way, A, to meet people, and B, like I said, just get out of your room, keep your physical health up, but also it's very important for your mental health too. And then for those who want a little bit more than that, we do offer club sports. So you may have a couple practices a week. You may or may not have a coach depending on what sport that is. And you're traveling to play a lot of those games. I will just use, I'll say our rugby program as an example. They practice 3 days a week here in the rec when the weather's like it is outside right now, but they do have a field outside when it's nice out. And then they're traveling. They might go to Gannon or they may go to Geneva College for games against other opponents. So that it kind of gives you that you're not quite on the varsity level. You're not practicing 5 or 6 days a week. You're not having team lifts. You're not having all of that, but it keeps you involved. Again, you meet new people. You get to travel a little bit and keep your physical health up in that manner.
That's great. Thank you, Hayden. Let's talk now a little bit about the relationships you make when students choose to participate in these activities. So Gage and Aaron, you had mentioned earlier, you met when you first got here, but your real friendship built when you started to climb together. Have you been able to meet other people in the local climbing community?
Yeah, we definitely have. Here at Cal, we made a ton of friends. One of the people who was working at the Rockwall when we first started climbing, Parker, we made a really good friend in him. He was a senior when we were freshmen, so he was kind of like a mentor to us almost. And he got us into the sport even more. We went to other climbing gyms and outdoor rock climbing areas like Cooper's Rock and McConnell's Mill with him and some of the other people we met there. Yeah, we've also made a lot of friends just climbing in general, I would say.
Aaron, anyone that comes to mind for you?
I would bet anyone at Cal, if you stop by the Rockwall during the week, 5 to 9, there will be a good group of people in there. We just have made so many friends from the gym, and the Rockwall has kind of become like a hangout spot for all of us, which is super cool. Even if you don't rock climb, people still come up, they hang out for most of our shift most of the time, which is super cool. And then we also have some regulars that come in that we've made friends with. What's super cool with that too is we make specialized routes for them and kind of challenge what they're weak at in rock climbing and kind of different styles, which is super cool. We rotate them, which I think is pretty neat. Also, just our other coworkers. I've become so close with the people that work at the Rockwall, members at the front desk, our bosses. The whole community at the gym is really, really special. And I honestly, coming to the campus, I wouldn't expect something like that. But it's pretty cool that it's like that. It feels like a little community down there, and it's really great. I'm happy and satisfied with how many friends I've made through working at a place like the Rockwall, which is super cool.
That's great. Thanks, Aaron. Bridget, what friends have you made through your experiences?
So actually, the first one that came to mind way, way back when freshman year, welcome weekend. This is literally the first, I was like so scared trying to make all these friends. But they had this kayaking trip on Lake Edinboro. And I remember being like, well, I like kayaking. I like being outside. So I signed up and I actually met one of my best friends here at college. And she actually lives right next door to me. So we're still living together. We work together. We go on trips together. So that was a really awesome experience that I didn't even know. And actually, like, well, we met at kayaking and then we both were going to yoga that same weekend too. And we met each other there. We didn't even like text to meet up or anything. We just met each other again there. So that was really cool. I was introduced to a lot the core workers who were there before me when actually her name is Grace. Sorry, her name is Grace who I met. She started working for core before me. So then I was introduced to the core workers. So then I got closer with them and then we all went on trips together. So we got closer that way. I know most of the people who work at the front desk of the gym. So it's always nice to see them and say hi to them when I go into the gym. I like the smaller community of Edinboro because you kind of get to see everyone everywhere. So even if they don't go to the gym or they don't go on trips, I can still see them. And I like the community here.
That's great, Bridget. Sonia, what kind of friendships have you made?
I would say that like most of the people who I go on these trips with, I'm aware of, I see them around campus, but it's not until we go on these trips that I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy their presence and I like their person and they're a nice person to hang out with. Like the spring break trip in particular, I met a lot of people who I'd never really talked to before. Like a lot of the core workers or now core workers were on that trip. So I got to, meet them. Like Bridget's roommate, Kate, I'd never really talked to her before, but now she's really funny and she's really nice and I enjoy talking to her. And I just would have never had that experience if I hadn't gone on that spring break trip.
So, what advice would you, Hayden or Ryan, let's start with you two. What advice would you give to a student who's a transfer student or new to campus, not really familiar with campus recreation? What would you tell them to do as soon as they showed up, and how could they get involved? Ryan, why don't we start with you?
The really important thing here that I would tell anyone is don't think that you aren't welcome in campus rec. I think that is just for some reason a really common idea that people have in their head. That's not a space for me. That is the number one thing that I would give as advice is say, don't let that idea exist in your head. Campus recreation, regardless of intramurals or, just being in the weight room or going rock climbing or even skydiving, it's a place for anybody, any background, any abilities, any skill set. And that is the really big thing. I've met some of the coolest people in my life by going outside and having fun, and that's what it's all about. We just want everyone to be able to have a good time.
That's great, yeah. Ryan. Hayden, what's your advice?
I would say just get outside of your comfort zone. I can assure you as an 18-year-old coming into college, I'd never considered officiating and had no desire even necessarily to do it. That was just kind of the job opening that was there that presented itself. And here I am 14 years later, still in the field because I took that leap of faith and said, what the heck, let's give it a shot. And, I fell in love with it. You don't know if you're going to enjoy something unless you try it. So not everybody is meant to officiate, and that's fine, but we have so many different areas of campus recreation to get involved in, whether that is just signing up as a free agent to play in a league, not knowing anybody else in it. Well, this is a great way for you to do it, or signing up for a trip because you never know if you're going to enjoy something unless you try it. I am absolutely petrified of heights. I always have been. I think I always will be. Skydiving was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And I was kind of pushed into that by my boss at the time. And I'm so glad he did that. But I wouldn't have known that if I would have just kind of said, no, I won't like that. Because in my head, there was no chance I was going to enjoy it. But it turns out it was great. So just get out of your comfort zone and whatever that is for you. Like Ryan had kind of mentioned earlier, comfort zones are different for every person. Ryan and I have the exact same jobs on two separate campuses, and we do very different things. And that's great. If Ryan asked me to go climbing, it would not be something that I would immediately jump to. But if I did it, and I've done it in the past, I really enjoy it. So you just don't know unless you try.
This has been so fun to talk about campus rec and the experiences you've had. It was fun to listen to each of you students talk about how you tried something that you didn't know, weren't familiar with, and it built your confidence so you could do more things in the future. So let's wrap this episode up by hearing from each of you as you tell us what your next big adventure is. Now that you've gone kayaking, you've gone skydiving, you've rock climbed, maybe played some team sports, what is your next big adventure? Sonia, let's start with you.
This Saturday, I am going skiing with Core at Holiday Valley up in New York, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. Bridget?
I will say that I guess I just had one thing that I wanted to share as well. So because of the spring break trip last summer, I was a whitewater rafting guide in Tennessee, and I don't think I ever would have been able to do that if I didn't have the core spring break experience. So I'm kind of on the fence right now if I want to do that again over the summer or not. So I just wanted to share that campus rec also led me into that experience. But also with Sonia, I'm going skiing this Saturday at Holiday Valley, and I'm so excited. I love skiing.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Bridget, thanks for talking about that, how participating in these activities gives you access to opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise, even in the professional realm. Aaron, what's your next big adventure?
Over spring break, Gage and our other friend Garrett were planning a 8 to 10 day road trip going south. And it's kind of still in a rough draft stage, but we've been looking for parks that we want to hit up. We want to go to some hot springs, and we plan to camp along the way, and then also buy some dehydrated meals and kind of eat those along the way. And I'm really excited. I think it's going to be an adventure that I'll have memories from for the rest of my life. Like I said, I'm very excited about that. So
That sounds great. Gage, tell us about this adventure for you.
I'm super excited for that road trip, of course. We're hoping to maybe go climb in the Red River Gorge a little bit too. I don't think it would be nice enough to go in Summersville Lake and climb. Beyond that trip, I believe later in March through the campus recreation, I'm going to be doing a program where we learn how to land and take off a plane.
That sounds pretty epic.
Very excited for that.
This has been so fun to hear from each of you and your experiences, and it's fun to see how you've pushed yourself beyond your comfort zone. And Ryan and Hayden, thank you so much for the work you do on campus to help students understand the possibilities of things that they might participate in that may be a little bit intimidating at the beginning, but ways in which they can push themselves beyond their comfort zone and learn that ability to stretch themselves that will carry on with them through the rest of their lives. So thank you very much to all of you for joining today, the Power of PennWest podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.